everybody. Welcome back into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're going to talk a little Lafourche Parish and specifically Lafourche Parish schools with the Superintendent of Education, Mr. Jarod Martin. Hey, Jarod, thanks for joining us. A busy time of the year. First of all, you've had a couple of weeks in school now. How's things going?
Well, much better than last year.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll start with that, and
Today's the 30th, right?
and much better than the year before that.
Yeah, right.
In my time as a superintendent, which has been a little over 3 years, this has been our best opening of schools because it's been pretty normal.
Oh, yeah.
So we're very thankful.
How do you know what normal is, right? You and Archie Chasson, y'all both went in about 2 weeks before.
Yeah, we did. We did. We both pick on each other because neither one of us knows who brought this upon us. But in all seriousness, the school year is going really well. And our teachers, the kids, the parents, everybody's excited. I know tonight I'm going to a football game with my own kids, and we've got Friday night coming up soon for the high schools. It's a really good feeling this school year.
Right. And that's all part of it, right? The extracurriculars that everybody can do. We can go out to the ballparks again. We can be in school with no mask on. We don't have to be scared to look at each other. I'm sure there's still dangers out there, as you know, there's always something out there. But we're not dealing with the catastrophe of a storm last year. And any of it, hopefully, we'll get through the whole season without it. But it looks like we've been good so far. August, no name storms. Incredible.
Yeah, following the year we had the last 2 years, because don't forget
we had
before Hurricane Ida, the year prior to that, if I remember right, there were two hurricanes that each had us in the cone.
Right.
There was
we
a
went
period
to cone
when
like 6 times.
Yeah, and at one point we were in the cone of two different storms.
Right.
Just a remarkable couple of at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was just a remarkable couple of years, and of course Ida last year was just so devastating. And I know we're going to get to that later, but this school year, really the story has been the lack of major events that set us apart from what we want to do, and a really dedicated focus on getting back to those things that make kid experiences whole, sound, and focusing on making sure that our kids get exposed to all those things that they may have missed out in the last couple of years.
So when you sit there and talk to your principals and they talk to their teachers and you talk to everybody, there's got to be a sense of urgency to let's get out of the gates and blowing and going. Because, I mean, look, we've had some.
Yeah.
And you guys have done a good job score-wise, considering what's going on the last couple of years. But it's got to we got to really blow it out the blocks this year.
Absolutely, and it's more than that, right? So it's more than just test scores, because test scores are typically a byproduct of how well kids are buying into your program and your school, and you can't get kids to buy into school, in my opinion, for school's sake. You've got to offer more, whether it's music, whether it's the arts, whether it's athletics, whether it's a club that a kid feels really connected to his friends and peers, and the sponsors doing a good job of connecting what they love to school. And then, of course, stoking those flames of competition. All that stuff matters. And without that, we're not going to hit the ground running, and we're not going to get the traction we want. And so the message to the principals has been, start the year off the way you want to finish the year. Don't ease into it, dive right in. And so we've initiated back to school dances. We've got, I don't know if you know what this acronym, PBIS, but it's our positive behavior system, where we really try and promote the best in kids, focusing more on the positive reinforcements for when they do things right. We're all in. And so you can feel the energy on campus. You can see it as you walk through all of our 30 various campuses. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see this rebirth of what school's supposed to look like.
Yeah. And kids, again, COVID for this little generation of students is going to be like 9/11 was for the early millennials. It's going to be like, missiles of October for older guys like me, right?
That's right. Defines a generation.
So how do you get them back? And not to use another acronym, and PTSD, obviously not war related, but
no, look,
post-traumatic can be from anything. And you got to be, I imagine there's a certain percentage that are scared to get back in the classroom.
For sure. And we recognize that, and we were able to use some of the money the federal government gave us as a response to COVID to hire professional school counselors at each and every school. When we had to do budget cuts a few years ago, we didn't have school counselors at every elementary school. We now have every single school in Lafourche Parish has a professional school counselor. a professional school counselor to address the emotions of kids, to address those needs that they might have, to have somebody to talk to about how we navigate school and the anxiety that might be a holdover
Sure.
from this time when we thought people could make us sick, right? Because that
yeah.
was the prevailing thought and what we had to do.
Don't hug me, right? Don't look at me. Yeah, a different time and different kids, right? I mean, they grew up in an online generation. So, is that part of the whole educational package, is to make sure that you can go where they are to make them receptive to learning?
We've learned that our children, from pre-K on through 12, they're good at navigating a technological world, but a technological world is not the best platform for teaching and learning. And so we've married ourselves and really recommitted ourselves to in-person instruction that's engaging, that's thought-provoking, but that's provided by an in-person teacher. No matter how robust and how well-versed a teacher is at delivering an online presentation, it does not substitute for in-person learning.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I mean, yeah, you're right. We learned we can do it. Doesn't mean it's better, right?
It does not mean it's better.
It kind
that's
of
right.
gives the teachers some credit, like, hey, a good teacher can change the world, right? It can change a lot of students. You and I both have wives that are teachers, right? But I can't tell you how many doctors now and all come in. You made me love science, and telling my wife how important that is. So just having a great teacher, I think one of the byproducts, we found out how valuable that is. Huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that the entire community recognizes that.
It's always been one of those things. We don't pay teachers enough. We ask them to do too much in the classroom. And now it seems like those boomers are kind of aging out, and we don't have enough millennials, maybe, or I don't know, with Gen Zs or whatever is next, to replace them right now. And there's a big teacher shortage.
There is. And the teacher shortage it's nationwide. It's been spoken about by pretty much every news outlet across the entire nation. In Louisiana, it's very pronounced. It's been spoken about by the state superintendent of schools and by the governor. And the state legislature recognizes that teacher shortage and actually did some pretty interesting things in this past legislative session. They've made it easier for retired folks to come back into the classroom, and they have increased teacher salaries by $1,500 a year, all of which are going to help. The other initiative that the State Department has pushed is the removal of some barriers to get a person who has a college degree into the classroom and then begin the process of getting that person certified to become a teacher. So all of these things help, but we still have vacancies in Lafourche Parish. I believe that every parish in this region has teacher vacancies right now. Some more than others. I would tell you that in Jefferson, it's some ridiculously high number, but remember Jefferson Parish
is the biggest, largest school system in the state.
Right. So St. Tammany, same thing. I've read some articles about those districts, but they're huge districts that have a lot more people that they need to hire to fill. So, I've got 8 vacancies right now that I know that I'm still actively looking to put a teacher in that classroom, 8 out of 875 classroom teachers. Now, having said that, there are about another 15 or so where I've got a substitute filling in long term. So the true number of vacancies we have is closer to 20.
Right.
But those pale in comparison to some of these larger urban districts.
No, I'm reading St. Tammany had 300 openings.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little better than that. And look, they wanted a top 10 as far as pay. Now that can't be the remedy, is to just poach the next parishes, right? I've seen billboards locally, right? They come to whatever, and I won't say that, but come here and we'll pay you more. St. Charles's has one of the
I'll
highest
say them
districts.
both.
Right.
It was Ascension and Assumption.
Right,
They're both
exactly.
friends of mine. I'm friends with those superintendents. I jokingly said, you need to take your billboards down.
Down
I'm
in
going to
Thibodeau,
put
right?
one up in your area. We all laugh because as district leaders, we recognize that there's not enough water to fill the buckets. So you can take water from one bucket and put it in another, but at the end result's going to be result's going to be that there's not enough water to fill the buckets. Of course, the analogy I'm using here is the water being the teachers.
Sure.
So I think that as a state, we've got to commit ourselves to public education. I think that as a nation, we should commit ourselves to public education. If given the platform to advocate for it, I would say that as important as our mission to put people back on the moon as has been in the news lately.
Right.
We've got to double down on that effort in public education in America, or we're going to lose a generation of kids that don't get exposed to high quality teachers.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's Cade Brumley, I guess, is the superintendent of education. He's new. He's been there, what, a year or two, maybe. What's his remedy? What's he thinking about? I mean, we just talked about in-person learning versus being on a screen. I mean, you always hear people going, well, you know where we're going, because I know businesses are teach classes now. They'll just have somebody at the home office on a screen. Everybody reads from their computer and tries to learn that way. A lot of people think that's where we're going with teachers in classrooms.
Yeah, I certainly hope not, because I don't think that's effective, and particularly for our youngest students. A student learning high school content, maybe, with the real emphasis on the word maybe. But as you get lower, I just left Bio Blue Lower Elementary. I was sitting next to a 5-year-old who was marrying up words that rhyme one another on a computer, but without that highly effective teacher helping that kid navigate the program that he was on, walking the classroom and providing feedback to those kids, and then breaking from that technological program that they were engaged in and delivering and providing engaging in-person learning, our kids won't stand a chance.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to teach a child how to read. It's the only way to teach a child the phonetic principles, not to mention numeracy, which is also equally important.
Right. Real and important. And there's a lot of things. I notice in Florida now they're making it easy for veterans. Like if you're a military veteran, it's a shortcut. If you might have missed some years of college, it's a shortcut to get your certificate and to be able to teach. Maybe that's an example, but there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, there's discipline problems in the classroom, and we talked about pay. Obviously, that's why a lot of people won't go in, and obviously, you know, just security. You know, it's the whole mentality's got to scare a lot of people off.
There is. I bring it back until someone can prove to me that it's not compensation. I'm going to put compensation as the number one reason. In the 1970s, educators were paid 20% more than their college graduate peers. So if you think about that, if you had a degree in education, you were going to be a teacher. Year one, you were going to get paid 20% more than your college educated peers. I'm talking about female graduates.
Great incentive, right? Yeah.
This year, it's the reverse. You're going to get 20% less than your college educated peers. So if you're graduating with a degree in business versus a degree in education, you knowingly are going to go into a profession that pays 20% less. While those two things became true, as those paradigm shifts occurred, we see a huge drop in the number of people going into education.
Absolutely. Employment, right? Just trying to find enough people to get in. It obviously is a lifestyle choice for a lot of people. It's a calling for a lot of people. And I guess retention of those people too. Is that part of what y'all doing too, is trying to make it easier to make sure people stay in their profession once they're in it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for educators, what we pride ourselves on in Lafourche Parish are the supports that we provide for teachers. So we've hired more folks that have never been properly trained to be a teacher than ever before. And I say that as though it's a bad thing, but the truth is that many quality educators, some of the best we have, didn't start their college career planning to be a teacher. Through a passion, a calling, or an opportunity to just go into a classroom and work with kids, they've navigated a path that gets them to be employed as a teacher. Now what? I will tell you that as a student, we think we understand what a teacher does to get ready for a lesson, but you don't.
No.
The work of a teacher happens outside the eyes of students. And so to be prepared for that lesson, to understand what the lesson should look like, to have a quality assessment to arrive at what kids know and can demonstrate their knowledge of, those are all ridiculously complex things. So how do you get from, you've got a degree in accounting, to teaching Algebra 1? We've hired a number of coaches. Right. And so what we've got is some coaches at the elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. And these are my best teachers that I actively pulled from the classroom at a time where there's a teacher shortage. So imagine this took a bit of an act of faith for my team to convince me. So listen, I'm sitting in here where Sports in the Bayou is done. Right. So we're going to pull Zach Streif off the offensive line so that he can be the O-line coach. and I'm going to pull somebody up from the practice squad to take Zach Streif, and we're going to have a better offensive line as a result of it. That takes an act of faith in Zach's ability to be a quality coach. But the truth is that we had holes throughout our district, and without those coaches, those teachers weren't going to get the direction that they needed. And when they don't get the direction, the support, and the know-how from someone that knows what to do, they're going to make it 2 weeks, and they're going to tender their resignation and are going to walk away. So using this model of taking our best and brightest who can articulate what the profession is about and how to be successful, we're able to multiply our skills and talents and actually increase the number of folks that are able to do this job
You're
as a
talking about
byproduct.
master teachers? Is that what that is?
No, this is
okay.
we've got master teachers, we've got assistant principals. These are coaches that are assigned to multiple schools, and their focus is to walk onto a campus, meet with the principal. Step one, how many first-year teachers that have no experience in this whatsoever do you have, and who are they? Go observe, provide feedback, and then coach them up and be an augmentation to that school's leadership team. We're modeled a little different than Terrebonne in that every school in Terrebonne has a master teacher. We're not set up that way, so these coaches fill some of those roles that a master teacher would, but they do it at multiple campuses. And it's been a really rewarding experience to see the help that we're providing all of these teachers. And it's one of our selling points whenever we're trying to recruit somebody to our parish. We may not be the highest paid in the region, but you're going to get a environment that is conducive to you as a professional, because we continue to grow and support your ability to do this and do this well.
Right. It does seem like from the top down, you know, from the federal, from the state, there's always these mandates that trickle down into a classroom. So from teachers that I know, that's a lot of times what the problem is. Like, I don't have time to give every kid an accommodation and teach them over here and teach them over there. And I guess that's all part of what you're talking about, right? Is trying to consolidate and figure out a way to manage that.
That's exactly right. You know, when we talk about on an elementary campus, conducting what we call small group, right? So small group is when kids that need interventions and remediation are able to get that from the teacher. Well, how do you navigate that? When you break down into small groups, where are the other kids going? So it's navigating our electives teachers on the elementary campus so that kids can go get some enrichment. If they don't need intervention, they can get exposed to French, PE, or other means to expand their understanding of their world around them, and then have time for that teacher to provide additional instruction to those kids that maybe missed a step. But how we do all that and what programs you expose those kids to, it doesn't come naturally.
Right.
So we have to develop those skills in our teachers.
Yeah, and you go all the way to high school. So when you go to that level, we can't make everybody doctors, right? And that's also another thing, the VOTEX or the going to community college or that kind of stuff. Is there a way to not to teach everybody everything, or
yeah,
are we thinking about doing that more?
No, that's already done, and it's one of the things that I'm really proud of that we have. We have the Career Magnet Center, which aids students that are not college bound to get a high caliber credential and advanced credential. Right. We've got kids graduating
ready to get out, right?
Graduating career ready in a high demand, high wage job. We're actually partnering with John Deere, Edison Schwess Offshore and Biology Shipyard for a registered apprenticeship for welders, so that our kids are going to be working on their facilities as registered apprentices, getting paid a high wage salary while working toward becoming high caliber welders.
They need employees.
They need the employees, and these kids are eager to go and make some money and begin their career.
It almost makes too much sense.
It almost makes too much sense. That's exactly right.
And the whole thing, so like I say, the optimism is very high right now, and I guess now just to take advantage of it and get it rolling.
That's it. Pray for calm weather, pray for good health, and pray that we can keep the momentum we've established going through this school year and building toward the future.
Yeah, and keep politics and everything. Try and keep it on the
That's right.
Try and keep it on the classroom and education.
That's
Jarod,
right.
Thanks so much, man. Have a great year. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back with more Bite Time right after this.